addressing pressmen at the site.
Petroleum Company Limited to pay royalties, taxes from $3.3 billion Afrexim loan. Lekki Port receives largest container vessel. Oil extends losses as economic headwinds weigh on demand outlook. Japan leads gains in Asia market, China loan prime rates unchanged. And on the program today, we will be focusing on accessing Nigeria insurance sector and improving insurance penetration with a fellow of International Certified Risk Management Professionals UK and fellow Chartered Institute of Loan and Risk Management Nigeria, Abayomi Ayegbise. The program is Business Express, reaching you from Abuja, Nigeria's capital. I am Musa Abubakar. Now it's time to bring you up to speed with business development. The Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited says it will prepay future royalties and taxes to the federal government from the $3.3 billion financing deal it got from African Export-Import Bank last year. NPCL disclosed this in a document titled Frequently Asked Questions Project Gazelle, released by its Chief Corporate Communications Officer, Olufemi Sone. On August 17, 2023, the NPCL announced that it had secured a $3.3 billion emergency crude oil repayment loan from the African Export-Import Bank. It explained that the loan will be used by the oil company to support the federal government in stabilizing Nigeria's exchange rate. The company also stated that it adopted a lower price benchmark for the $3.3 billion crude for cash loan to reduce the risk of default and ensure financial stability. Lekki Port has successfully birthed Maersk Eden, a 13,092 20-foot equivalent unit, the largest container ship to ever berth in Nigeria till date. The container vessel, which docked at Lekki Port, is one of 13 large container vessels which form the new CGM wax service that will operate along key locations, including Xiamen, Qingdao, Shanghai, Singapore, Lekki Port and Abidjan. Speaking on attainment of the milestone, chairman of Lekki Port Building Dabiri, while congratulating the management team on this feat, said the port has the capacity to berth such large vessels with its modern facilities and world-class equipment. Dabiri said Lekki Port has put Lagos State and Nigeria on the global maritime bypass. This is the beginning of the actualization of the maritime hub status for Nigeria in the sub-Saharan African region. Now, recent report indicates that insurance penetration contributes less than 1% to Nigeria's GDP. They signal an urgent attention to address this challenge. Now that measures will encourage the low-income earners, who are the critical mass, to benefit from the services as a safety net in the face of economic shocks. In Nigeria, we have one of the major automotive marketplaces on the continent, but the automotive insurance is still very low, as it is less than 30% of registered vehicle have an insurance for third-party protection. Joining us to discuss this is management and sales consultant, the Northern Regional Director of All Mutual Nigeria, an international insurance and asset management company. He is a member of Chartered Insurance Institute of Nigeria, fellow of International Certified Risk Management Professionals UK, and fellow Chartered Institute of Loan and Risk Management Nigeria. Abayomi Ayegbisi. You're welcome to Business Express.
Thank you very much.
Well, let's begin by you telling us, Nigeria has less than 1% insurance penetration rate. What is responsible for this, and what can we do to improve this?
Okay, thank you. Yeah, you're very correct. If you say Nigeria has a very low penetration, actually below 1%, one of the lowest. If you look at even by African standard, the world standard of insurance penetration is something hovering around 10%, but in Nigeria we are lower than 1%, which is very, very poor. In Africa, really, the Southern Africa, you call them the SADC countries, have the highest penetration presently, with South Africa leading by about 12%, and then you have North Africa, then East Africa, the likes of Kenya. So Nigeria is still very far behind. And a lot of things are responsible for this. You look at the cost of living, you look at awareness, the knowledge of insurance value. So I will call it insurance value because, again, you find out that a lot of people don't actually know the value insurance represents. So if you don't know the value of something, how do you then purchase it? You find out that a lot of people put their money where they can see the value. So there's a lot of work to be done in terms of sensitization, in terms of awareness, in terms of seeing the value that insurance represents, and as well as cost of living, poverty. Because when you find out that insurance is probably, you are safeguarding either your property or life, or probably health insurance, and in a situation whereby you are probably even finding it difficult to buy the property or to pay off, then when you talk about paying a little, which now safeguards that property, but you need to know that that is what you are protecting. So in order to add that little, you struggle enough to even acquire the property, then it becomes difficult for you to actually pay anything in terms of insurance. Then, like I said before, also the issue of awareness is very, very poor. A lot of people don't know what insurance stands for. A lot of people think they are, in fact, when you go, some people tell you are is it institutional or glorified 419 now. They call it all manner of names because they don't really understand what this represents. And
how can insurance companies collaborate with government to see that the public are well enlightened about insurance and the risks they take when they do business and other things?
Okay, yes. The first of all is, there has to be that what I call financial education, because they have to be educated. You have to even know what insurance stands for. You have to understand why you need to insure. So then for insurance practitioners, this is the starting point. If you don't even know what you are buying or what this thing stands for, it's difficult for you to purchase. So after the financial institution, and I'm happy that you spoke about collaborating with government, because one area that we also are falling short so well is in the area of enforcement. If you look at motor insurance, for example, there is a compulsory part of it. You are not supposed to get out there or get behind the steering wheel without having adequate insurance. But you find out that it's either they don't have insurance, or a lot of people have insurance that are not valid, if I call it that way. But in the angle of enforcement stays with the government. That is where, so there has to be this continuous engagement between the practitioners and government to make sure that some of those things, I mean, you have insurance over them. Public buildings, for example, they should have insurance. I just, when I walked into the studio, I was looking at the story around the explosion in Ibadan. And I can tell you that majority of those people will not have insurance. The same thing about 22 years ago, in same January, similar occurrence happened in Ikeja. January 27 to be precise, 2002. So
there's also the issue of flooding we've seen last year.
Yeah, exactly. So you have that, and they are covered, because when the one that happened in Ikeja happened, then again insurance evolved, because as at that time most of the people that had even insurance policy, they don't have such covers. So what happened was that people went ahead and bought those kind of cover to cover such explosions and all of those things. But now again, when even some of those things are done, the awareness that these policies are there, these covers are there, is not even there again. So you have a lot of sensitization, a lot of enlightenment, a lot of public awareness and all of that to do around this, and collaboration, like we said before, with government. If you have a public building, there's a law, existing law in this country. You are not supposed to have a public building, just like third-party motor insurance. You are not supposed to have it without insurance. Because
now today people say South Africa is more insurance educated than Nigeria, and also are there cultural or societal factors that impact insurance adoption in Nigeria, and how can this be addressed to boost penetration?
Okay, so if you say cultural, it's not much of cultural, but it's much of, like I said before, awareness, education, as well as cost of living. Okay. Yes, again, if you look at South Africa, for example, for us, we had the independence. The British didn't stay long. These are where this insurance came from. But for them, they stayed long under appetite, and so they can see, because some of these things are also demonstration. The miners, all of those people, they make sure that they saw the value of insurance. They saw it evolve. But for us, we did not see it evolve. So if you look at it from that point of view, yes, you can say some bit of societal and all of that in place. But again, you also have to do with standard of living, more with standard of living, because when your standard of living is high, apart from the issue of education and all of that, you are able to pay for, like I said, a lot of people struggle. And then more importantly, you also have what I call the evidence of insurance, so which has to do with claim payments. When you have a lot of these things, because again, I blame us practitioners for some of these things. We don't also sell the end product, which is when we pay this claim. We don't also demonstrate most of these things. Most especially for corporate organizations, most of the big fires, big accidents you see in the country, insurance have paid. But how many of that have we come to say, this is what we have done? This is, so like somebody used to say, I mean, Nigerian palace, some people will say, insurance is a case of when you just explain, but there's no evidence. That is the way I see it. So, but we need also to show the evidence of the taking insurance, which is not there, which we have not really shown. This Ibadan bomb blast, you could have found out that this explosion that happened, you could find out that some people will actually take insurance and they will get paid if they buy the appropriate cover. But we need to also come out there to let the people who don't have those cover, to show them that, look, this person have taken this cover and is enjoying from this. But and that's what you have in those developed countries. Apart from what I said before, the government also coming in to assist in making sure that regulations, because our regulation is very, very weak. I must also say that in this part of the world, regulation is very, very weak. Sometimes even the one that don't take the insurance, they stop them on the roads. You don't have insurance, you have the issue of corruption and all of that.
There's this conversation about recapitalization. Do you think that is the way to go in addressing some of these issues that you've actually mentioned?
Oh yes, because it has to do with the issue of capacity. You have to have capacity Again, most of these businesses, a lot of insurance companies struggle to take a large chunk of it, to keep a large chunk, because the higher capacity you have, and that's why NICOM is also looking at risk-based risk-based supervision now. So the higher you have, you'll be able to keep more. If you keep more, it also has something to do with your profits, and when you have more profit, you're able to even invest, because we also have the issue of IT and all of that, which cost money. So when you have higher capacity, you're able to take, this explosion, like I said, that happens, it's not an insurance you can take, or an insurance company can decide to underwrite if you don't have higher capacity, because a small explosion can wipe out a lot of places and you have a lot to pay. So if you don't have capacity, you are not able to do that. Oil and gas, you cannot go into it if you don't have. So definitely you have to recapitalize to make sure that you are strong, and because what you take is a function of a shareholders fund, so you have to have that capacity, be able to underwrite a large.
Okay, the last national conference on insurance, they talked about insuring public buildings. How important is this?
Oh, very, very important. This is one of the compulsory insurance we should take, because when you look at public buildings, like we call them public buildings, so these are accessible to public. And you spoke about South Africa the other time. One of the things that most of these people enjoy is this: you go into a public building and something happens there and you don't have the means of taking care of yourself. There must be something that will come to rescue you. So when you have insurance of public building, it covers the insurance of the building itself against collapse, damage, fire incident, or whatever. But again, you also have the one that if you sustain an injury as a result of you being in that building, something will take care of you, because public assess that building, and in the course of you assessing the building, something can happen to you and you don't have money to take care of yourself. So what happens? So it's a way of also taking care of the society, taking care of the populace, making sure that nobody suffers, because the person that's involved now in that accident in that public building could be a breadwinner. Then at the end of the day, what happens to a dependent? What happens to everybody around it? What happens to even his business? The business can pack up because of that. So it's a way of even making sure that the country, the economy, as well as people's welfare is well taken care of.
Now, before I let you go, how do you see the future of insurance penetration in Nigeria evolving? And what you talked about issue of regulation. How do we improve on this particular aspect?
Okay, so the future of insurance industry, maybe I'll talk about that before I come to regulation. Technology has to play a very big role, and I'm happy you're starting now. So for example, if you look at third-party insurance, motor insurance, which you are bound by law to take, because if you're driving a car and there's an accident, what third party does is it makes sure that the other person you have injured, the other person you have killed, the other person you damaged the vehicle doesn't suffer, because he may not have the means to take care of himself. That's why by law you must take those things. Now, there are a lot of fake ones out there, but technology has played the role now. So you have what you call the Nigerian Insurance Industry Database, the NID. If it's a fake insurance, you can quickly go on the database, even while the VI or the road safety or whoever stops you, and check whether you have genuine insurance, whether that person can be compensated. Because this is also what is bringing the lack of penetration, when people don't believe in insurance. Because somebody gets injured, he takes your insurance, he goes to check, he finds out that you don't have valid insurance. So technology, we must play a very, very big role, and the regulator has started that thing by creating the insurance industry, the NIA, and all whatnot, to make sure that that is there, so you can check it real time online to check and make sure that you have genuine insurance. So the future is definitely technology. It helps even in collecting data, it helps in managing so many things, even in health insurance. You could get a quote, you could do most of those things. So technology has a role, big role to play in the future of insurance. Artificial intelligence is coming into play now, and all of that. Then talking about regulation has to be stricter. And insurance industry also have to take the lead. We have to engage. Even if we are doing that, you cannot stand on the road yourself. That's the function of the law enforcement agents. How do they also know that what they are checking is genuine or is not genuine? How are they also taking care? How are they compensated? So a lot of this discussion has to happen. It's because you have a whole lot of organization in that chain, which have to come together to make sure that we have proper insurance.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bayobi Ayegbusi. It's a pleasure having you at the program.
My pleasure.
Moving on. Next is a summary of how the stock market fared last week, as compiled by Olayinka Ojo.
The NGX All-Share Index and market capitalization appreciated by 13.85% to close last week at 94,538.12 basis points and 51.735 trillion naira. A total turnover of 5.179 billion shares worth 77.797 billion naira in 79,012 deals were traded last week by investors on the floor of the exchange. The financial services industry led the activity chart with 3.191 billion shares valued at 33.413 billion naira in 36,276 deals. The conglomerates industry followed with 473.638 million shares worth 8.185 billion naira in 6,325 deals. While the third place was the consumer goods industry with a turnover of 460.149 million shares worth 17.484 billion naira in 12,550 deals. Trading in the top three equities were Transnational Corporation PLC, Jais Bank PLC and Aiko Insurance PLC, and accounted for 1.093 billion shares worth 9.501 billion naira in 10,047 deals, contributing 21.09% and 12.21% to the total equity turnover in volume and value. A total of 100,213 units of ETPs valued at 23.168 million naira were traded last week in 337 deals. From bonds, a total of 142,409 units valued at 140.309 million naira were traded in 39 deals. On summary of price changes, 81 equities appreciated in price during the week. 58 equities depreciated in price, while 16 equities remained unchanged. Olayinka Ojo for Business Express.
Nigerian stocks began the first trading day for the week in positive territory with an all-share index of 95,768.12 basis point. At the end of trading for the day, a total of 721.81 million volume of shares valued at 14.4 billion naira in 15,757 deals exchanged hands. Market capitalization stood at 52.4 trillion naira. And for global market update, Bosede Abel is standing by. Bosede, what's happening in the market?
Well, Musa, European markets started the new trading day in positive territory, with regional investors keeping an eye out for preliminary consumer confidence data from the Eurozone from January. DAX rose 0.44%, FTSE 0.10%, and CAC 40 of France also topped 0.44%. Asian markets were mixed on Monday as China kept its loan prime rate unchanged as expected. The Nikkei 225 hit a near 34-year high to end 1.62% at 36,546.95, while the Shanghai Composite dips 2.68% across 2,756.34, and the Hang Seng Index followed suit at 2.27% lower at 14,961.18. Stock futures in the U.S. rose Monday, with investors looking to build on the S&P 500's fresh all-time high from Friday. Futures tied to the benchmark S&P 500 added 0.33%. The Dow Jones Industrial Average topped 63 points, and the Nasdaq Composite also rose 0.62%. African markets started the first trading day in the week mixed, with Tunisia closing 0.14% positive, Ghana marginally positive, while others closed red. That's the global market report. I am Bosede Abel. Back to you, Musa.
Well, thank you, Bosede. Well, this is where we end this edition of Business Express. Business Express return on Tuesday by 9:30 a.m. Thanks for your company. I am Musa Abubakar.